Lovely. So from a position where you're lying down on your back, you can have your legs extended, your knees bent. Just give into gravity for a moment here. Really connect and notice the contact points of the body into the mat. Maybe also just noticing the temperature, whatever is touching your skin, your clothes, or if it's the mat itself. Just really bring your awareness to these things as we draw ourselves out of the mind and into the body. And just having an awareness of how you feel today, physically, mentally, emotionally. And begin to become aware of your breath. Just noticing the rhythm of the breath, the rise and fall, noticing where that breath is happening in the body. And then we'll just take some time to connect into that breath. So keeping the mouth closed, just breathing through the nose. And as you breathe in, keep over the length of that inhale, keep the breath even. So the force of that air in is the same over the length of that inhale, and it's the same for the exhale as well. And as you breathe in, allow the belly to expand, the lower rib cage to expand. And as you exhale, that rib cage draws in, navel draws in. So just notice if you have been breathing into the chest, and by bringing it down into the lower part of the abdomen, just notice if that feels different, or if you have started to breathe more often in this area. And then let's use our 5 counts. 5 counts in, 5 counts out. If that feels too long for any reason, then just breathe as slowly as you can. Starting with the inhale, we breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, in, out, in, and out. In, out, and in, and out. And then continue with that breath. And then your affirmation for this evening: I accept all of myself. I accept all of myself. The work I do on myself is not a goal, it is a process, a lifetime process, and I choose to enjoy the process. I accept all of myself. And then bring in some movement into the body. So wiggle your fingers and your toes, circle the wrists and the ankles. And let's lengthen the arms out behind you, or if you've not got quite enough room behind you, you can just kind of lengthen them out and down, or even just up to the ceiling. but bring in some sense of activation and lengthening there. And then hug those knees in towards you, wrapping your arms around the shins, a little rock from side to side. Good, releasing the head down, coming into our knee circles, so hands on the knees and guiding them around, bringing awareness into the hips, checking in with how they feel today. And then reversing that. And then releasing the feet all the way back down. Keep the feet hip distance apart, and then we're just going to flow from one side to the other with the knees, keeping the shoulders on the mat and allowing a gentle twist to happen in the spine. So just tipping onto the edges of the feet, shifting the knees one side and then the other. One more time. And then back to center. Good, just hug that left shin in, little hug in towards your abdomen, that thigh pressing in, and then just releasing that foot. We don't need a straight leg, you can straighten the leg completely if you want, but just lengthen the leg as much as you can and just gently hug that leg in towards you, and maybe even take a circle into the foot. Reversing that circle. Oh, little crack from my ankle then. And then just flex and point the foot as well. Bring in some awareness all the way into the edges of the foot, into the toes. And then bend the knee, flex the foot and place the outer edge of that left foot onto your right thigh. Just coming into a reclined pigeon here, so you can stay in this position with the right foot on the mat, or you can draw that right knee in towards you. Keep the left knee pressing towards the front, and if you want, clasp behind that thigh. Just make sure that the shoulders and the neck are relaxed and you've got a neutral spine. And just breathe in here, finding a sense of release through the outside edge of that hip. And then releasing the right foot back to the mat if it's lifted, and place the left foot down. Bring the right knee in, hands onto the shin, a gentle hug downwards so that thigh is pressing into the abdomen. And then lengthen that leg. Straighten it as much as you feel comfortable doing so. It doesn't have to be completely straight. And then circle into the ankle. And reversing that. And then also bring in a flex and a point into that foot. Good. And then bending that knee, outside edge of that foot onto the left thigh, pressing the right knee forward. An option just to stay here, or you can bring the left knee in towards you. Keeping a neutral spine, soften the shoulders and the neck so there's no tension here. And then release. Left foot down onto the mat and the right foot. We're going to make our way to sitting. You can rock your way up if you want, otherwise we can drop over to that right hand side and then carefully guide ourselves up with our arms, with our hands, so that we're really being gentle with ourselves. Come into a seated position. If you need to sit on a block or a cushion, then go ahead, but we want a nice lengthened spine. Press the ground away with the sitting bones or the block or the seat of the chair, feeling nice and long, and take a roll through the shoulders, really thinking about the motion of the scapula as we mobilize here. Nice big movement. And then as we inhale, send the hands away, lift the arms, continue to press the ground away with the sitting bones so we create a sense of length and space here. And then exhale, releasing those arms out, lengthening all the way to the fingertips. And again, inhale, feel like you're gathering the space. And exhale, opening out. From here, coming into a side reach. So let your right hand come down. Inhale, lift through your left arm. And continue to reach over. And then with this right hand, gently press the ground away. So we create a sense of resistance here. So we're not just reaching as far as we can, we're pushing the ground away. And that also creates that sense of lift through the body. Just checking in with the neck. If you want to kind of move the head a little bit, let it release completely, you can. And then releasing all the way back up. And let's take that to the other side. Lift through the right arm. As we continue to reach over, that left hand presses the ground away. So those sitting bones are both equally reaching down into the mat. Again, just check in with the head and the neck. Having a sense of lift through the body. And then return. Bring the palms together. Let's take an active twist here. So inhale, find a sense of length through the spine. And as we exhale, draw the navel in, engage the pelvic floor, and we twist. And we're thinking about spiraling upwards. And we can really feel that connection through the core and a line of muscles that runs down either side of the spine. Feeling those activate. Keep breathing here. It might feel a little bit more shallow. And release. Excuse me for yawning. And then just take a little bit of a movement side to side, releasing any tension before we do that. Again, inhale. Sense of lengthening. Exhale, draw the navel in, engage the pelvic floor. As we twist, we're up. It's an upward spiral. Maybe looking over the shoulder. And then release. Good. Bring the hands to the knees and take a nice big circle through the rib cage, releasing any tension and also just bringing a bit of more movement into this area of the body and reversing that circle as well. Good. Okay, before we come over onto our knees, let's just take the soles of the feet together into Baddha Konasana. Releasing the knees out to the side. If you need your feet a little bit further away, hold on to the shins. And if you need to sit on a block, again, be my guest and take some time just to get a block as well. Knees press out to the side, nice lengthened spine. And then as we exhale, if there's an option to, you can begin to hinge forward. Keep the shoulders soft. So we just bring awareness into the hips, into the inner thighs. Notice how they feel at this point. And bringing a sense of softness to the shoulders and the neck. And then releasing all the way back up. Closing those knees. Before we come over, let's just take Navasana. So releasing the shins out ahead of you. You can keep your hands behind you if you want. Really lengthen through the spine, engage into the core, front ribs hugging in. But if you want to, you can also take those hands out ahead, finding as much length into the spine as we can, as we continue to breathe as well. Well done. And then hug those knees in, cross at the ankles. And then from here, we'll bring the hands down. Step those feet back and lower the knees down. Let's come straight into a child's pose here. Send the hips back. Reach the head the hands forward. Lower the forehead down to the mat. Connecting to the breath. Feel that belly expand onto the thighs here. Soften through the hips. Release across the lower back. And then as we inhale, rising up, finding your tabletop. And then let's take cat-cow here. So as we inhale, we lift the head, we lift the tailbone. Exhale, draw the navel into the tailbone, under chin to chest. Repeating that, inhale and exhale. And then we release into our tabletop, and we'll come straight into thread the needle from here. So press into the left hand, lift through the right elbow, find that twist. And as we exhale, take that hand, thread it through, over to the other side, lowering the shoulder, side of the shoulder and the temple down to the mat. And then we repeat that movement. So inhale. If you want this time, you can extend the full arm or just stay with that elbow. Exhale. Keep the hips stacked above the knees, so we're not twisting so much that we end up with one hip higher than the other. And then repeat it one last time. Inhale and exhale, reaching that arm across shoulder to the mat, temple to the mat. Now with your left hand, you can leave it where it is, extend it forwards, or you can wrap it across the lower back and hooking your fingers just onto that right thigh, if that feels okay. If not, leave it wherever you need to. Staying connected to that breath. And then releasing that left hand down to the mat. And as you press into that, releasing the right arm all the way through. Good. From here, walk the hands forward slightly and shift the hips through so that we come into our plank with the knees down. And we're thinking about a straight line from shoulder to knee. Front ribs hugging in, nice connection through that core, long through the spine. And really feel like the head is and the neck is an extension of the spine rather than the head releasing forward. One more breath here. And then lowering all the way down, coming into a baby cobra. So feet together, heels together, press the tops of the feet into the mat, lift the shoulders, and then lift the hands away from the mat as well. Good. And then see if you can extend those hands and arms forwards, or even just out to the side, maybe even a diamond shape. And then releasing all the way back. So pulling the elbows back, placing the hands by the side of the chest. And then we'll push those hips back into our child's pose. You can keep the arms forwards or down to the side. I've got a bit of cramp in my foot. And then as we inhale, rising back to your tabletop. Good. Let's take thread the needle on the other side now. So we're lifting through that left elbow, pressing to the right hand. Exhale, threading that arm through, temple and shoulder down to the mat. Releasing, inhale. Repeat. Maybe extend the arm. Exhale. Once more. Inhale. And exhale. Hips are equal, stacked above the knees. Right hand can stay where it is. Extend out ahead or wrap across the lower back. See what feels best for you. And really think about that engagement into the core. Are your hips pushed over to the side? Do you need to readjust the pelvis? And then when you're ready, drawing that right hand back and then draw the left hand all the way through. Tuck the toes under, send the hips back, and you can keep some weight into the hands, or you can stack your hips directly above, directly onto your heels as we take a toe stretch here. Maybe use this as an opportunity to either roll through the shoulders or circle into the wrists. Good. And then releasing the hand down, bring the right foot through so that we come into a low lunge, and we can let those hips move forwards and backwards just to check in. Oh, that feels tight for me today. The back of that right leg, the front of that left hip. And then coming into your low lunge, pressing the ground away with the feet, the lower half of the back leg, hips hug the legs in. So we've got a sense of engagement here. engaged into the core. Left hand down, circle the right arm. So we reach it forwards. As it lifts up, the palm turns outwards and we circle that arm back and down. So we're finding that twist again. Inhale, lift. Exhale, releasing back and down. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Good. Send the hips back as we come into a half split, Ardha Hanumanasana. You can keep that knee bent. Again, it's just finding a sense of length that works for you. Press the heel down into the mat. Sitting bones draw out behind you. So that leg is as lengthened, as straight or as bent as you need to. Stay engaged through the core. Good. One more breath here. And then release. Tuck the back toes under and just stepping that foot back into a downward facing dog. Pressing the ground away with those hands. And then lower the knees down. And let's take puppy pose. So hips stay stacked above the knees. Walk the hands forward slightly, arms are straight, and lower the forehead down towards the mat. If you want, you can lower your chin and your chest towards the mat. And your hands can be wide, or you can have your thumbs right next to one another. So again, that's going to create a different sensation in the body. So see what feels good for you. Staying connected into that breath. And then on your next inhale, we rise all the way back up. Bring the hands in. And let's take the left foot through between the hands. Through between the hands, and then we can send the hips forwards and back, and really just checking in with that hamstring is also tight today. So, and into the front of the hip and those legs. Good. Couple more, and then we'll hold it in the lunge. My body's just clicking and cracking. I don't know if you can hear it through the mic, but there's all sorts tonight. Send those hips forward, holding your low lunge, press the ground away, engage into the core, right hand to the mat. Let's circle that left arm. Inhale, reach and up. Exhale, back and down. And again, inhale and exhale. One last time. Inhale and exhale. We're going to send the hips back into our half split. Flex the foot, heel presses down, sitting bone draws out behind you. Knee can be straight or bent. And just see how that feels for you. Staying connected into the breath. Good. And then releasing that foot forward, tuck your back toes under. And again, let's come into our downward dog. Really spread through the fingers, press the mat away firmly with those hands. Externally rotate the top of the arms, lifting through the sitting bones. And maybe pedal the heels. Anything that you need, if you need to kind of pivot on the balls of the foot or add anything else in. So much percussion coming from my feet tonight, so apologies if you can hear all that. And then from here we can either walk the hands to the feet or the feet to the hands until we've got our weight onto our feet, and we can hang over the legs. Options for thighs, for knees bent and forearms onto the thighs here, or completely hanging over the legs. If you want, you can take a ragdoll. And then releasing those hands, give the head a nod. Shake of the head, shrug of the shoulders, and then let's uncurl. Chin to chest, tuck the tailbone under, draw the navel in. We press the ground away as we come all the way up to standing into our Tadasana. So to the front of the mat, and then really pressing the ground away with the feet, really connected soles of the feet into the mat. Kneecaps lift, front ribs in, spread into those fingers, long through the back of the neck. So feeling fully connected into the body here. And then let's take some sun salutations, really just flowing with the breath. No attachment to making it a full plank or whatever it is. Just allow whatever it needs to be and just feel that sense of flow and movement. So inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, hinge at the hips, folding forwards. Inhale, right foot back into a lunge. You can lower the knee if you need to. Hold the breath. Finding your plank. Knees down maybe. Exhale, lower. Inhale, Sphinx or Cobra. Could be baby Cobra again if you want. And then exhale into a downward facing dog. And just staying here with the breath. Breathing through the nose. On your next exhale, bend the knees, look between the hands, and we bring that right foot through. Inhale. Exhale, both feet together, forward fold. And inhale. Open the arms, lift. Exhale, palms draw down. And release. Let's go straight into another one. Inhale. Exhale, hinge. Left foot goes back. Inhale. Hold the breath. Your version of plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale, your version of a back bend, Sphinx, Cobra or baby Cobra. Exhale into your downward dog, or if you need to not do downward dog, you could do puppy pose instead, that we did earlier. Staying here as we breathe. Really lifting through the sitting bones. Neutral spine. And then as we exhale, bend the knees, looking between the hands. Left foot comes through. Inhale. Exhale, both feet together. Forward fold. And inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, palms draw down. And release. And again, just finding your Tadasana, your mountain pose here. If it feels okay, maybe close the eyes for a moment so awareness is fully drawn in. And then bring the palms together. Let's step the right foot back. So lift up through that right knee. Press the ground away with that left foot. All the way out behind you into a lunge. And then we can drop that back heel so that we arrive into a warrior two. Front knee above that ankle. Notice if that knee is collapsing to the side. And if it's blocking the view of your big toe, press it towards a little toe edge. So we get a real sense of stretch and opening through the front of the hips. Back leg is straight, pressing the outer edge of that back foot down, reach it equally into the hands. Looking ahead. Keep the eyes still, soften at the temples. And then turn the back palm up, front forearm onto the thigh as we come into our Parshavakasana, extended side angle. And we're pressing the forearm into that thigh and we're reaching into the fingers of that top hand. And then coming all the way back up into a warrior two. Inhale, lift the arms, straighten the front leg. And if you need to, make your stance a little bit shorter. We're going to come into Trikonasana. So open the arms back where they were for warrior two, but turn your palms to face outwards. Lift up into your back hip. And then you can bring your hand maybe onto the top of your thigh, so fingers to the inner thigh, or hand to your shin. Or if you have a block, I don't seem to have one next to me at the moment, which I usually do, you can place your hand on a block here. And we're really engaging into this back hip and thinking about the chest spiraling forwards and up, maybe looking up towards that top hand, pressing the ground away. You can have a slight micro bend in the knee if you need to. And then from here, release that back arm down, look down towards your front foot, bend into that front knee and let your hands come to the mat. Lift your back heel and we're going to lower that back knee down and come up to a high kneeling. So we're at 90 degrees with both knees. Hands onto the hips and then tuck your tailbone under. So we really shift the position of the spine. So we're tucking it under and a slight sense of pushing forwards as we keep that tuck under of the pelvis. So we'll feel that into the hip flexor and into that quad. Hold in here. And then release. Come back to more of a neutral position and allow the hips to draw back a little bit. And then lifting up through that right arm and reaching over to the left. So we're really drawing up out of that hip. And we're reaching to the side. So from face on, got your knees bent, and we're reaching over to that side. Well done. Let me just move back into position and then we release and then we're going to send that front leg out to the side and let's take Parigrasana gate pose here. So inhale, lift through the arms, exhale, releasing that left arm down, keep reaching up into that right arm, and then if there's space and there's room to, you can reach over. So we're feeling that real sense of stretch through the side here as well. Good. And then releasing that arm down. Take your hands right down in front of you. Keep the leg out to the side and we'll take our cat-cow variation here. So lifting the head, lifting the tailbone. And exhale, draw the navel in. And once more, inhale. And exhale. Release to neutral. And we're going to take a variation, keeping that leg out to the side, a variation of thread the needle. So like we did earlier, but we're going to keep that leg out to the side. So with so you should have your left leg out to the side. I think I've switched a bit so I can face you. And then inhale, lift through that left arm, open. And then as we exhale, we're going to thread that arm through. Now we might not get our shoulder all the way down to the mat, but if you soften through into that supporting arm, that right arm, and just have a sense of the shoulder reaching towards the mat as we take that twist, and just just explore that movement, no forcing as we find the twist. And because that leg's extended, we won't be able to twist that pelvis. It is going to stay where it needs to. Good. And then releasing that arm all the way through, hands to the mat. And then from there, I want you to lift that leg and then draw it all the way around so it's directly out behind you. And see if we can also lift into that left arm or right arm. So it's opposite arm to leg into sunbird. And then we release. Toes down to the mat. And we'll take a vinyasa here, so you can skip this bit if you need to. So finding your plank. Option for knees down as always. Exhale, lower. Inhale. And exhale, downward dog, or you can take child's pose here. And just a reminder of your affirmation. I accept all of myself. I accept all of myself. And then when you're ready, coming back to downward dog if you're not already there. And then bend the knees, look between the hands, and bring the feet through. Walk in, maybe step in them, or you could even jump them. Halfway lift, hands to shins. Exhale, fold. And inhale, open the arms, lifting up. And exhale, release. Coming into your Tadasana, and again taking a moment here, really feeling that presence in the body. And then we're going to repeat that on the other side. So from the front of your mat, palms together, press the ground away with your right foot, lift through your left knee. And then send in that foot all the way out behind you. And drop that heel down as we open and arrive into our warrior two. Front knee above ankle. Make sure you can still see your big toe and your knee isn't collapsing over to the side. Press the ground away with the feet. Hips hug the legs in, create lightness and length through the spine. And then turn the back palm up, front forearm onto the thigh. Parshavakkonasana, extended side angle. You can look ahead or you can look up to the sky, but really feel that sense of pressing the thigh away with that forearm. And then release, press the arm through. And back to warrior two. And then inhale, lift the arms, straighten the front leg. And exhale, open the arms, palms facing out. If you need to alter or shorten your stance ready for Trikonasana, I always find that I need a slightly shorter stance for this posture. But we're going to lift through the back hip. You can bring your hand to your thigh so you've got more of a diagonal with that upper body, or as we find that sense of lengthened spine, spiraling the chest up, you can bring your hand to your shin. If you've got long enough arms, you can bring your hand to the mat or rest that hand on a block. And we're really engaged into that glute, pressing the ground away, lifted up through the kneecaps or maybe with a micro bend in the knee. And then release that back arm, look down towards your front foot, bend into your knee. Release the hands down as we lower the back knee down and come up into our kind of 90-degree angle lunge. Hands onto the hips. And then when we're ready, we tuck that pelvis under, tuck the tailbone under. So it's almost like we're trying to pour, if our pelvis is a bowl, we're trying to pour it out behind us. And then maybe even sending the hips forwards. Really noticing that hip flexor, the quad. Making any alterations if you need to. And then releasing. Neutral spine. Hand onto that right hip, lift through your left arm as you reach over to the right. Finding that stability. Good. And then release. Okay, so that front leg is now going to go out to the side. So right leg out to the side as we come into Parigrasana. Inhale, lift through the arms. Exhale, releasing your right arm down. Keep lifting up into that left hand. And if there's room, you can continue to reach over to the side. Creating a sense of lift and lightness through the waist, so we're not collapsing or compressing here. And then releasing that arm down. Hands come to the mat. So we're going to take our variation of cat-cow here with the leg out. So inhale, lift the head, lift tailbone. Exhale, draw the navel in, chin to chest, and again inhale, and exhale. And release into neutral. Variation of thread the needle, lifting up through the right arm, inhale. And as we exhale, we take that hand through, reaching it across and lowering the shoulder close to the floor. It doesn't have to touch. And if you had a block close to you, you could even just rest a block underneath your shoulder or your head here. Staying connected into that breath. Well done. And then as we inhale, we draw back, hands to the mat, and then we're going to lift up into that leg. So we lift the foot away from the mat and extend that leg out behind. So we're really drawing that leg out behind. Make sure we're neutral, and then releasing, it'll be your left hand, I think, out ahead of you into Sunbird. Take a breath here, nice and stable. And then hand down, lower the toes down, extend into your plank, maybe lower the knees. Time for a vinyasa, or feel like you can skip it if you want. Inhale. And as we exhale, downward dog or child's pose. Really staying connected into that breath now. And when we're ready, we're going to come back up into our downward dog if we're in child's pose. And then we're going to lift the right leg into a three-legged dog. So lifting that leg, three-legged dog. If you want, bend the knee and let that foot just reach over to the left-hand side a little bit, feeling a little bit of opening through that hip. And then lengthen the leg again. Square the hips off. So if that right hip is higher than the left, just allow the hips to become level again. And on your next exhale, thigh hugs into the chest, really drawing the navel in, and keep that foot hugging in towards the glutes as well. And then inhale, return, three-legged dog. And again, exhale, thigh all the way in. Last one, inhale. This time we're going to bring that knee down behind the right wrist into our pigeon. So let your foot reach towards the left, right knee behind the right wrist, and bend the back knee. So we're not coming down into a full stretch here just yet. So bend the back knee so your hips are quite lifted. And we're going to press the knees into the mat and come all the way up into very active pigeon here. So we're pressing the knees down into the mat and the hips are hugging in, and then releasing the hands down. And now we'll come into more of a passive pigeon. So you can really reach into that back leg. Now, if you've got a block or a big cushion, you can place it underneath your right hip. Or if that's not comfortable, you can always bend your back knee in and release over here. So seeing which one supports you. And when your hands are down in front of you, your knee should be out to that right hand side, and if you've got your legs straight, make sure it's not going off at an angle, it's directly out behind you. And then from here, lowering down as much as you feel happy to, maybe onto the forearms, or even releasing those arms out ahead of you. And just really taking a moment here. Be aware of that right hip. And as you kind of release here and let go, really just making sure that that hip's okay. And we're not giving in too much. So if you need to keep a little bit of weight onto your arms, you can press the ground away here. So I'm just going to take another breath here. And then bring those hands all the way back in. Tuck your back toes under so that we can push the ground away. Lift those hips and just come back into your downward facing dog. And then we'll take a little ripple through to plank here. So draw the navel in, tuck tailbone under into your high plank. Bend the knees, lift the hips, inhale, back to downward dog. And once more, exhale, ripple through, high plank or lower the knees. We're going to take it all the way down into the mat. Inhale, Sphinx or Cobra, shoulders down, glutes engaged. And exhale into your child's pose. If you need to circle the wrists here, you can do that if they need it. And then let's come back up into downward dog. And let's lift through the left leg, sweeping that leg up. Maybe bending the knee, letting the foot hang over to the right a little bit. And then lengthen the leg, square the hips off. Good. And on your next exhale, hug the thigh into the chest. Inhale back to three-legged dog. And again. Thigh all the way in. Last one. Inhale. From here, bring in that right knee behind the left knee, behind the left wrist. Placing it behind the left wrist, your foot has moved a little bit closer to the right hand side. So your shin's almost like in a diagonal position now. And then just bend the back knee and lower it down. So the hips are still quite high off the mat. And if you can, press those hips. Oh, it feels more difficult on this side for me. Press the hips down into the mat. See if you can find that sense of balance here. Good. And then now we release, hands to the mat. And then maybe a block or a cushion under this left hip, or lengthen that back leg away from you. Your hips now come close to the floor, or you can just bend that back knee in completely. And then lower down onto your forearms, or you can even really lengthen into the arms. But as we rest that upper body over, we're in a much more passive stretch. The weight of the body is creating that stretch. So be aware of that hip. It's very different from when we're actively in it. So if you think about the seated twist that we did at the beginning, where it's just the muscle control, this is now more passive, where the body weight itself is creating that stretch. Staying really aware of that hip as you breathe, slow the breath down. And then bring in those hands all the way back in, tuck the toes under, and then if you need to bring the foot in a little bit closer first, you can, then press the ground away, lift those hips. Final downward dog here. So really pressing the ground away with the hands, lifting through the sitting bones, and then lower those knees all the way down. And if you need a final child's pose, you can. Hips onto the heels before we come over into a seated position. And then let's lift up, cross at the ankles, or however you need to come to sit in. Let's come back to our Baddha Konasana that we did earlier on. So soles of the feet together. Releasing the knees out to the side, holding onto the feet or onto the shins. You want to make sure you get a nice long Shavasana, so after this we'll come straight down onto the back. So inhale, left through the chest. Exhale, hinge at the hips and release forward. If there's room to, if you need to stay upright, you can soften the shoulders. And if you want, you can press your elbows into those thighs, but just keep the neck and the shoulders nice and relaxed here. We're not causing any tension. And then release. Coming all the way up. Let's fold those knees in. And coming down now onto your back, guiding yourself down carefully here. Let the knees fold in. Give them a little hug here. Maybe a little rock from side to side. In fact, if you want, you could take a little happy baby for a moment, hooking your fingers around your big toes or around the outer edges of the feet, or even just clasping your hands around the back of your thighs. And then releasing those feet down into the mat. Feet hip distance apart, reclined twist. Let the knees drop over to the right. If you want, you can stay in this staggered position with the legs, or you can bring the left knee on top of the right knee, so we increase that stretch, that twist. Arms out to the side, or even cactus the arms by bending at the elbow. And hips back to the mat. And then let's drop them over to the other side. You can keep the legs staggered, or you can stack the knees. And then releasing your hips back to the mat. Make sure the pelvis is centered. And then coming into your Shavasana from here, lengthening those legs, knees and toes just dropping out to the side, palms facing up. Press the back of the head into the mat, scoop the shoulders underneath the heart. As we arrive here, and just have that sense now of releasing, really giving in to gravity. So softening the skin around the eyes and the skin across the forehead. And just think about the placement of the tongue. So your tongue should rest at the roof of your mouth, the tip of the tongue just resting behind the top two front teeth. Teeth are slightly parted so that you can release through the jaw. And then breathing through your nose. If you want, you can come back to an equal inhale and exhale as slow as you can. Maybe 5 counts, maybe even 6 counts or longer. Or you can make your exhale last longer than your inhale. So still a slow inhale, but the exhale becomes even slower. Breathing into the belly. And with every exhale, really find that sense of release and softening through the body. And each time your mind wanders off, which is totally normal, just gently guide it back to focus on the breath. Maybe give it some counts. The more we do this, the more we practice it, the easier it gets. So we're just going to take another minute or two here. So really just allowing yourself to settle into these moments. And then just begin to bring some awareness back to the contact points of the body, into the mat. And as we inhale, feel like that breath draws through the whole of the body, bringing a sense of lightness and radiance into all the cells of the body and all the space between. As we exhale, letting go of any leftover tension, along with any unkind thoughts, negative thoughts, and then bringing some movement back in. Wiggle the fingers and the toes, circle the wrists and the ankles, lengthen the arms and the legs, and then hug those knees in, giving yourself a great big hug here, and then releasing the head down. Let go of the knees, come over to your right hand side, stacking your shoulders, your hips. Allow your head to release onto the mat as we just take a moment here in that fetal position, a reminder of new beginnings, and that at any point of our day we can start again with our thoughts and our actions. And then lengthen that left leg. Place your left hand on the floor in front of the chest, guiding yourself up carefully now back to a seated position. Palms together, rest the thumbs against your sternum, gently bow the head. Take an inhale and exhale. Feeling connected through mind and body, connected into that breath and a real sense of calm. Hold on to that now for the rest of your evening and into the rest of your week. Allowing your eyes to open, and thank you for sharing your practice with me again.